All right, hey guys, thanks for joining me. In this talk, I am going to be talking about launching products and going to give you guys some examples of where my company has been and where we're going, and give you some examples, and hopefully it'll help you. So I'm totally stealing the SEO Moz Whiteboard Friday thing, and I'm going to be writing on the whiteboard, so I hope you guys can see it. All right, and I'm just going to dive right into it. Basically, a year ago, actually, on WordSesh.
All right, hey guys, thanks for joining me.
Oh, hang on, let me
in this talk, I am going to.
All right. So about a year ago on WordSesh, I actually debuted our product for AppPresser, making mobile apps with WordPress, and then now it's been a year, and so I have a lot of stuff to report to you guys on how it's been, and also how to kind of help you guys, launch products and do that as well. So basically, we went from zero to got the business up to 30K a month, and that's the title of this talk. And then I just want to kind of talk about our process in getting there, challenges, and things like that. And now we released a new product that's totally different, and so it's like this whole new challenge for the new product. So I was going to talk about that as well. So this is about reflecting on kind of what went right and what our challenges were, and hopefully it'll help you. And I'm also documenting this journey on my blog at scottbolinger.com, and it has real revenue numbers and metrics and things, so you can actually see everything that's happening. So if you want to follow us there, that'd be cool. So basically, back in 2013, before the last WordSesh, I had to find a new business partner. So I was looking to start a new business and had to find a new business partner. And I needed a technical partner. So, if you're thinking of starting your own business and finding a business partner, what I found is that finding a business partner can be difficult, especially a technical one. And I didn't have just a whole ton of developer friends, because at the time I wasn't like a real great developer or anything. And I basically had to kind of approach a few people that I didn't really know that well and try to find someone who was a good partner. And what I found is kind of for the most part, most people weren't really interested. Even if your idea is good, a lot of people just have kind of their own things going on, and they have their own projects that they're working on, their own goals in their life. And so even if you come up with this great idea, it's kind of like, well, that sounds kind of cool, but like I have my own thing going. I'm not going to just stop doing that and start working with you on this project, and which is totally understandable. So what ended up happening is, I met actually Brad Williams at OC WordCamp. He was gracious enough to talk to me for a little bit, even though he didn't know me, and then met him at another WordCamp. But basically down the line, I ended up approaching him and his partners at WebDev Studios about being partners with me in this new venture. And they ended up accepting, which was really cool. So the lesson that I learned from that was basically to meet people in person. So get out my chalkboard thing here. So meet people, right? So that's just been so important, and not just for starting a business, but also for growing a business, developing relationships, things like that. Meeting people has been incredibly important, and it's really this really weird thing. Just meeting someone in person is just so much better than emailing and even like video chatting and things like that. There's just something magical about when you meet someone in person and then you talk to them online. It's like the person knows, okay, this guy's not a weirdo, and he's normal, and maybe I should listen to what he says. And I don't know, it's just this weird magical thing. So meeting people is really important. So go to conferences and meetups, and as much as you can. You never know when that's going to pay off down the line. I didn't know that meeting Brad was going to lead to any type of business or anything like that, but it ended up being incredibly important. So that's basically the first thing. Meet people, get out of your cave, things like that. By the way, if you guys have questions, post them in the question part of the talk. Maybe not in the chat room part, and I'll try to get to them towards the end. I'm not actually looking at the chat room right now, so but I'll look at it towards the end. So AppPresser launched in January, and we did about 18,000 in the first 3 weeks, which was a really good launch. And then it dipped down a little bit, and then we grew it back up to about 30,000 a month later in the year. The reason I'm telling you guys these numbers is not to like brag or anything like that. That's a lot to some people, and that's very little to other people. I'm just trying to let you guys know kind of what this is like in real life. It really helps me when other people share numbers, and that's really the only reason why I'm sort of sharing those. So basically, our launch, I don't think that that's a normal way to do things, to do 18,000 in the first 3 weeks. I think most products start with little to no sales and build up slowly month after month. I think the biggest reason why we had strong sales at the start was because we were doing something kind of new and different, and we got attention because of that. And people were writing articles about us, they were tweeting about us, things like that. So second thing would be to do something different. And different, not just that no one's ever done it before and no one wants to buy it from you. Do something different and desirable. And that's kind of a hard thing to do in a lot of cases. So if you contrast that with the theme company, I've been involved with the theme company as well, and everybody's doing themes. So when you release a new theme or a new product, it's really hard to get people to pay attention and to care what you're doing, and you're really fighting an uphill battle. When you do something different, like mobile apps for WordPress, it's like, oh, okay, here's, like, people are like, whoa, this is something new and different. I'm going to tweet about this, I'm going to write about it, and maybe buy it, things like that. So it really makes your marketing a lot easier to do something that's different. So just as an aside, another launch idea would be to launch with affiliates. So I did this with one of my products. Actually, my first product is called FitPro, which is a theme for fitness professionals. So speaking of WordPress themes, even though they're not really a different product and it's hard to get attention with them, what you can do is actually tailor your products to a niche and then launch to that niche. So we made a fitness theme for fitness professionals, and instead of marketing as just another WordPress theme, and then people come and say, why wouldn't I just go buy a theme for $35 from Theme Forest or whatever? Instead, you're saying, here is a website solution for fitness professionals. And what I did was contacted a lot of the influencers in the world of fitness and just basically gave them an affiliate deal to promote my product. And that actually ended up working really well. One, because when people come from a niche, they have different expectations for price and for your product. And so, say for like the first product version of that product we sold, I think was $250 for a WordPress theme, and it sold. And I mean, the reason was because we were promoting it as a website solution for fitness professionals, not just another WordPress theme for people who buy WordPress themes. So that's just an idea for you. Maybe it'll get the wheels turning or something. So the key to getting good affiliates is to contact these folks early before you launch the product and build the relationships and make an affiliate deal that works and things like that. So we'll talk a little bit more about affiliates later, but let's get back to what we're doing with AppPresser. So let's talk about actually before launching a product. So an MVP or a what I like, I'm a big fan of this. MVP is a minimum viable product, right? MVP. So I'm a really big fan of the minimum viable product, and basically what this means is you just build out only the most necessary features for your product and then you launch it. It doesn't mean that you build something that doesn't totally work and doesn't have the things that people need. It's minimum viable product, which means it has to have at least a feature set where it's very useful to your customers and it's worth purchasing. And then you sort of launch it quickly and develop it and iterate on it and things like that. So I'm a huge fan of the MVP. I really think that you should develop fast or develop something and then launch sort of early. And instead of saying developing a product for a year without having anyone actually pay for it and use it, I really don't think that that's a good idea. You really need feedback from the market, and the sooner you get it, the better. Getting feedback from friends and industry people is really good, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well, but getting feedback actually from customers who are buying and using the product really is indispensable. And I mean, even contrast that to people using it in beta. If you do like a free beta launch, it's really good to work out bugs and get that feedback and everything, but until people are actually taking out their money and giving you money and buying your product, you really don't have the perfect sort of look into how the market is responding to your idea. And so the sooner you can get to that point, the better. So you'll have to Also, you have to change up things in your product, and the only way that you can know what things you need to change and what your customers really want is just by launching it. Um, so, so another thing that you have to consider is when you're building this product, after you launch it, you may have to, change these things, and you're not going to have as much time to actually work on the product. So when you're creating the product, you just kind of have your head down and you're writing code, and you can develop really fast. You can add features, you can pull stuff out. You don't have to deprecate anything, and you can kind of just make this product into whatever you want, and you don't have to worry about stuff breaking or bugs or anything like that. But as soon as you launch, you can't do that anymore. So now you have a product that people are actually using, and you have to make sure that everything is backwards compatible, which means that all of your testing is going to take longer, all of your development is going to take longer. And you also have to keep in mind that you're going to have other things besides development going on. So as soon as you launch, you have payment issues, you have website issues, you have bugs in the product that you have to fix, you have admin stuff, you have customer support. So customer support is a huge one. That's going to take a lot of your time away from actually building and developing your product. So, so another thing I would say is launch fast. Launch fast, but also keep in mind that after you launch, things are going to slow down on the development side. So sort of plan for that. So you have to plan for the slower development. You have to plan for changing up your product, fixing bugs, customer support, admin stuff. Actually marketing your product. That's one thing that's happened with our most recent product launches. I was just coding for like 3 months or something like that, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we kind of neglected marketing a little bit, so now I kind of have to switch and put on my marketing hat, and we're going to talk about marketing your products in a little bit. So just keep it in mind, launch fast, but then plan for slower development afterwards, changing your product based on the way your customers use it. And the only way that you can find out what your customers really want is just to get it out fast and have them use it. So there's a balance there between minimum viable product and not creating this huge beast that you sort of have your head stuck in the sand developing, and you launch it and then nothing happens and no one buys it. I mean, if you sit there developing a product for like a year and you aren't getting feedback from customers and sort of seeing what the market wants, you could be developing something that nobody wants, right? So the important thing is really to see if there's a need. And there's a lot of really cool ways to do this. I mean, you could even, there are even people who like talk about products and sort of, they launch the product without actually building anything. And I don't have any good examples of this, but if you just Google it, there's like the minimum viable product. There's a lot of cool examples that people have of how they do stuff, how they sort of find out what the market wants before they even start building anything. That's not what I do. I sort of I still build something first, but I think it's really cool when people do that. And speaking of feedback, so it's really important to get feedback about your product. So let's see up here. Feedback. Sorry, my handwriting is so horrible. But getting feedback early is really important. So it's really important to get feedback from your customers once you launch, but you still have to sort of develop something and do something before you get out a minimum viable product or any type of product. And so it's really important to get feedback early from people who have done this before, people in the industry, people, basically anybody. And I'm not saying like ask your mom what she thinks of your product, because she's going to say, she loves it, it's awesome. But I'm saying, someone in the industry, for example, Chris Lemma. Chris Lemma has a lot of knowledge, and he's very open to sharing that knowledge. He's a great resource. I definitely talk to him about my products. And other people like that can bring up stuff that you didn't even think of. So, I've talked to a couple friends about their product before, and they sort of heard stuff from me that they kind of didn't think of, and we can all just kind of help each other out. It's really important to get this feedback early before you kind of fully build out your product. Say, hey, kind of, what do you think of this product, and where do you think that this fits in the marketplace, and For example, if you're a really great developer, you may have great coding skills, but maybe you don't have the best marketing skills. So you might build this technically amazing product, but where that sort of fits in the marketplace, who you're going to sell it to, and where those people are going to come from, and how you're going to position your marketing message, all these types of things. It may just be some small tweak that you need to make before you launch your product, and it could be the difference between success and failure. There's lots of people in the community, I think, that will help you out if you need feedback, but I would definitely encourage you to get feedback early. So including me, hit me up at Scott Bolinger on Twitter, and if I'm definitely happy to chat with you. So one thing is to get feedback early. One mistake that I see a lot of people doing is they keep their product really secret while they're developing it. And I actually kind of did some of this as well myself. And you're kind of scared that someone's going to steal your idea, or well, basically that's kind of the biggest thing. You think someone's going to steal your idea. Nobody's going to steal your idea. Nobody has time to steal your idea. You know what I'm saying? But everybody is working on their own thing. They are so busy doing their own thing, they don't even have time to barely pay attention to what you're doing, much less steal your idea. So keeping your product secret while you're developing it is a huge, huge mistake. I would actually start marketing your product and getting the word out on what you're doing from day one. Like the day that you think of the idea, I would write a blog post and say, hey, I have this idea. What do you guys think? What's your feedback? All that kind of stuff. And then blog about your product development as it's going. Say, hey, today we built this feature. We built this other feature. Hey, we're going to have a beta pretty soon. All these people who are going to get involved sort of following your story, those are going to be the people that they can help you market the product. Maybe they'll even buy your product. Maybe they'll be your beta testers. They'll help you get the word out about it. This is incredibly important, and this is something that I did not really do very well. But one really cool part about getting people involved really early in your product is that then they'll become invested in it. So if you go to someone and say, hey, Scott, what do you think about this product? Like, what would you change about it? What would you do better? Can I get you to look at it? I would give you my feedback and maybe change up a couple of things, and then you could say, hey Scott, thanks for your feedback. We actually changed this based on what you said, and then then I go, hey, that's so cool. Like they actually took my advice, they listened, they cared, and then when you guys launch that product, or maybe even when you beta it, or if you write a blog post about it, I'll be like, hey, like I had a part in sort of changing something in this product. I'm invested in it. I'm going to tweet this. I'm going to recommend them to my friends. I'm going to tell other people about this. And that's a great way to get people involved early. If you don't do that, if you sort of build a product and go, hey Scott, look at my product, tweet it, or whatever, or you go to some influencer in the industry, you go to Chris Lemmer or whatever, hey, write a blog post about my product, they're just going to be like, I don't know you, I don't know this product, I don't care, But if you get people involved early, not only does it help you to create a better product, but it also is going to assist you in marketing later. So one thing to keep in mind is, what worked for somebody else may not work for you. So, take things with a grain of salt. But for the most part, I think most of the feedback that you'll get will be constructive and it will help you. So let's talk about getting to 30K. So basically, getting to 30K in revenue for us, it came sort of fairly naturally. We had some articles written about us. We made some strategic partners. We had people that tweeted us and things like that. Some of the things that I did early on where we integrated with PhoneGap. So PhoneGap actually asked us to write a blog post on their site, which is cool. They get a lot of traffic. They have a lot of Twitter followers. They tweeted, things like that. We partnered up with some other people that gave us tweets, and some magazines wrote articles about us and things, and all that kind of stuff helps. We didn't really have a grand marketing strategy. I think it was just because the product was so different that we got a lot of free publicity. and this happens sometimes, but I don't expect it to happen to you and your product. You have to build marketing channels, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're struggling building your product sales, we're going to look at sort of how to build up your sales funnel, how to get that type of marketing when it doesn't come as naturally. So let's talk about that in a little bit. After we got to 30K in revenue monthly, we decided to change everything. So I wrote about this on my blog on scottbolinger.com, but basically we decided that we wanted to make a new version of our product, something that had features that our customers were asking for, and sort of change things up. So the reason why we changed everything, instead of just kind of iterating on the current product and building 30K into 40K, 50K, whatever, was, I think it was because we knew that we could make a better product. And I think this happens with every single product out there. The first version, is never the best. There are great things about the AppPresser product, and it's still great for a lot of stuff, but we just kind of got feedback from our customers on things that they wanted. They wanted faster performance, offline mode, easier building, integrating push notifications easier, more features, things like that. And so as we got this feedback, we kind of looked into building it in the current product, but then instead we kind of changed gears and we're like, if we really built something that was a hosted service, we could make this a lot better. And so I think this is true in any tech business. When you're making making a product, your first version is never going to be the best version, but that's okay. You should still launch it. Like at the time, it was something very new and revolutionary and awesome. But just as you learn more and the technology changes, you're going to always want to change your product. So new technology becomes available, our skills get better, our team gets better, and you just kind of iterate, make a new product. So for us, that meant starting over. That may not always mean that. But when you're building your product, especially if you're a developer, you may be kind of a perfectionist, and you may be like, oh man, this isn't quite perfect yet, isn't quite ready for the market. I would say just launch it much sooner than you think you should. Not when it's a pile of crap, but when it's actually something that's working and you're just trying to perfect it, you just have to get it out there. Like I talked about earlier, you have to start getting feedback, and you're going to have to be changing it anyways, and you really need to see what people want out of your product before you get it out there. Or I'm sorry, before you start just building this huge beast that nobody wants. So so we realized that we could make everything better, and in our case, instead of iterating on the current product, we realized that we had to kind of start over and build something new. And that meant a software as a service or a hosted app builder, which is called Reactor. So the second reason that we decided to do this is that recurring revenue is a much better way to build a business than one-time sales. I've heard this time and time again from other people. The hard part about product sales is your product doesn't always make sense to do recurring revenue. You may have a product that really just works great with one-time sales, like for example, Gravity Forms or Easy Digital Downloads or WooCommerce. These are all one-time sale products. They have a yearly renewal for support and updates, but they're one-time use products, and they work great that way, and sales are awesome for those companies. So it's not always necessarily the right thing to do for everybody, but for us, it just made a lot of sense. So we could control the app building environment, so we could make it more bug-free. We wouldn't have to worry about different server setups and theme and plugin conflicts and everything like that. We could also integrate the app building, so to make it automated app building instead of sending them over to PhoneGet Build to build the apps. And things like push notifications, we were also sending people to a third-party push notifications provider. And so, and those, they were charging a monthly fee. So we were like, well, why don't we just all wrap it up into one thing? And people were paying a monthly fee anyways. We'll just kind of wrap it all up into one, make everything easier and better, build better apps, and and move to a recurring revenue model. It also costs less for customers to try it out. They can do a free trial. A lot of people were asking us for free trials. I'm sure anybody who sells products will attest to this, that a lot of people ask for free trials of downloadable software, and it's just not possible. I mean, maybe some people do it. We don't do it because then they could just take it and do whatever they want with it. It just doesn't make sense. But now you can, with a hosted service, you can actually provide free trials. You can also provide monthly payments instead of one big upfront cost. So in our case, AppPresser, our agency bundle was $500, which is our most popular package. And so instead of charging $500, we can get people in and building apps for $49, $59, $99, whatever it is. And it's sort of less of an upfront investment. So, so in our case, it made a lot of sense, and it actually made our product way better. So I definitely wouldn't recommend doing it for any reason other than it's going to make your product better and it's going to be better for your customers. We certainly didn't do it just because we wanted recurring revenue or anything like that. So, so yeah, moving to a SaaS model or software as a service. By the way, here I'll means software as a service, in case you're not familiar. So what this means is that now we have a site where people go sign up and they pay us a monthly fee, and we host the app builder. We don't actually host their app content or anything like that, but we it's now a software as a service business for Reactor, that is. So it's been, let's see, it's been less than a month, but the software as a service model, it definitely has its own struggles. And even though it's been less than a month, I already know what a lot of those are going to be. And so if any of you guys are thinking about using a software as a service model, maybe you can learn some from this. The first was it's been kind of a big adjustment because our short-term revenue takes a big hit. So say, for example, before we had 60 customers in a month, our revenue would be somewhere around $25,000. Now if we have 60 customers, it will be 14 days of nothing, because 14-day free trial, and then $4,000 if they all stay. And one big thing about a SaaS model is that a lot of people cancel. That's just the way it goes. So you have to kind of figure that in. And so then one of the big things that I've been working on recently is customer acquisition. So customer acquisition before with AppPresser, things just kind of happened naturally, and we kind of just got these sales through just Google searches and just people who had written articles about us, attention that we kind of got early on, and we kind of coasted off of that. And I just don't think, I don't think that looking back that was a good idea for us to just kind of coast off of that. Although in the moment, sales are growing, and you're just like, I don't need to do any marketing. And I know that there's other product businesses out there who do the same thing, and I think that's fine. When we move to the new software service model, now customer acquisition is huge, because now you have people canceling. There's an article that Jason Cohen from WP Engine wrote, and he said cancellations are actually more costly than just the lost revenue, because in a software as a service model, because when people cancel, the new customer acquisition costs actually makes it so that when one person cancels, if you add one person, you're at negative revenue because of the cost of acquiring that new customer. So say if you have 10 customers cancel, you have to get more like 12 customers to sign up to actually stay flat in revenue. And that's not even growing, that's just staying flat. So what I'm seeing is acquiring customers is going to become a much more important thing for us to be looking at. So for me, that's developing a funnel of customers and sort of having a marketing channel that just works every month. And it's something that we can do that's sort of not automated, but it's something that we can just do over and over to get more customers in the door looking at our product, instead of just kind of waiting for these customers to fall out of the sky or come from wherever they're coming from. So there's lots of different ways to do this, and we can look at a few of them. So one of them is content marketing. Content marketing is definitely my favorite. It's time consuming. It takes a long time to see results, but it's also really inexpensive, and it can be really, really effective. So it's definitely the long game. example of content marketing would be, doing blog posts and, podcasts, things like that, to basically bring in traffic, not only from Google, but also to sort of bring those customers into the fold of your business. So my favorite example of this is over at the blog over at Groove. If you go to groovehq.com and click on Startup Journey, this is like one of my favorite content marketing examples of all time, and it's just they're just going through this transparent journey from basically their journey to 100K a month in their business. They're a like content what's it called? It's like help desk, not a help desk, but they're like Help Scout, but it's Groove. It's like email support and stuff like that. So they basically say, hey, here's what we did this month, here are some wins that we had, and here's our monthly revenue. The reason why I like that so much is because they're being really transparent, sharing real revenue numbers, and I'm totally copying them and doing this exact same thing on my blog with our business because it was so helpful to me, and I really liked following it that I'm just going to kind of do the same thing. So it has great images, has real numbers, and they've actually said it's been one of their biggest influences into it's been the biggest sales channel, basically, bringing people into free trials and things like that for their product. And so the important thing about that to me is that they're not just kind of willy-nilly writing blog posts. They actually had a strategy before they started, and they have a reason for you to come back, which I think is really interesting because you're following along on this journey. So you see a lot of companies that do blog posts like, how to increase your influence on social media or something like that, and it's just this short article that just seems like something totally half-assed it. And that kind of stuff is just like so abundant on the web that, I mean, I would say don't even waste your time doing stuff like that. I'm not saying that particular topic is a bad idea. I'm just saying the articles that people write that are just really mediocre, that is not a good example of content marketing. A better example would be, like, for example, what they do at Groove, or another good example is at SEO Moz, where I'm definitely copying what they do. They have these Whiteboard Fridays where they talk about SEO and write on a whiteboard and talk about it. Talk about SEO, like the newest things that have come out in SEO over the week, and it's a really great example of just kind of getting people in getting people to come back and sort of look at your content. Podcasting is another great example. I mean, look at Matt Report does podcasting, Dradcast. This Week in Startups. There's a zillion podcasts out there now. It's like the new big thing. So the cool part about content marketing is that it's not just about getting traffic from Google or whatever search engine. It's really about building trust with your customers and sort of bringing them into the fold of your company. And these people, they read your posts to find out sort of who you are and how you think, and they want to make sure that you're legit and that they can trust you. And one of the ways that they do that is by watching your podcast or reading your blog posts and sort of seeing, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, their company seems legit, now maybe I'll trust them and call them about consulting, or I'll call them about, I'll buy their product or whatever it is. So it's more than about just traffic, it's about building trust with your customers. A good example of this is, I actually just saw a guy on Mixergy. I forget his name. He's a WordPress guy. He does this scheduling plugin. I think it's called CoSchedule or something. So he was saying that they did a blog post every day for a year, and they had a lady who was reading their blog posts for 6 months straight and like passing them around the company, and they didn't know about this. She didn't contact them or anything. And then she happened to be from GE, and then eventually they contacted his company and were like, hey, we have some work that we need you to do. And they said, okay. They wrote up this proposal. It was like the biggest proposal that they had ever written, and the company was basically like, yep, let's do it. And it was because their content that they had been putting out, I mean, unknowingly to them, had actually been building trust with this lady and her company. And so when they got into the negotiating table, the people, they already had chosen this company in their minds, and they already trusted them. So they say, okay, that's what it costs, done, boom, let's do it. And so they sort of built trust with that content, which I think is awesome. And it's something that I have not been doing well up until this point, but I'm planning on doing more of it. So with content marketing, I would say start now, because it's going to take a long time to build it up. But then once you create all that content, it's there forever, right? So it's going to be able to bring you in traffic. Like I created this WordPress theme customization guide years ago, and sort of it was a nicely designed, guide to how to customize a WordPress theme. It ended up getting like, I don't know, like 10,000, 15,000 visitors a month or something like that for like years. And I mean, it was maybe like a few weeks of hard work on it or whatever, but like getting 10,000 visitors a month for like in the prosperity after that, I mean, I think that was really cool, definitely worth the time. So another marketing channel after content marketing would be affiliates. So affiliates can be both a blessing and a curse. They're a great way to acquire new customers. I know some companies recently, like WooThemes, have shut down their affiliate program. Actually, I think that was a while ago, but when you see that, you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't do affiliate marketing, because they don't think it's good. But they actually built a lot of their business off of affiliates, and I've seen a lot of good growth from affiliates as well, and heard from other people that their businesses have benefited from them. The trick is to get high quality affiliates. So, I mean, setting up an affiliate program like Affiliate WP or something on your site, and then just kind of opening it up and saying, hey, come promote my product to anybody, you'll definitely get a lot of affiliates, but they'll be a lot of them will be really low quality affiliates, and they'll maybe refer you one sale, and then they'll be emailing you about when they're going to get their one payout, and then they'll never make a sale again, and they can just be kind of a time suck. And also there can be fraud if you just kind of let anybody sign up. So high quality affiliates are definitely the best way to go. And the best way to get high quality affiliates is just to develop relationships with people that it makes sense for. So for example, when I released FitPro, there was a really high profile fitness blogger in the fitness industry, and I had emailed him a few times. I didn't know him at all or anything. I emailed him a few times and got nothing back. So what I ended up doing is actually I wrote him a letter, so like a handwritten letter. And him and one other guy, I sort of found an address that I could send it to, and I just kind of figured like their email inbox is probably overflowing. They probably just ignore everybody who emails them about that kind of stuff. But if I write him a letter, like he won't have a bunch of other letters from people. So so I wrote this letter, put like my phone number on it. I said, hey, I really like what you're doing. I'd like to give you a free account with FitPro, and here's my number, here's my email. Let me know if you're interested. So he ended up, after he got it, like a week or two later, he ended up texting me, and he's like, hey, I got your letter, I really liked it. Let's talk about it. Let's, I really like this product. Let's talk about it. It ended up being this big affiliate launch for my product that he got some of his other friends involved that were affiliates, and ended up being, a really big launch. So that's one way to do it. Another way is just to meet people. Like for example, I am really looking into getting into the church market with mobile apps. I think churches can really benefit from mobile apps. So I've just been contacting people who are sort of selling websites to churches or marketing to churches. My friend Brad does church themes, so I kind of talked to him like, hey, does this make sense for us to kind of work together on this? And if it's something that makes sense for both of you, then it'll work out great. But the key is just to develop these relationships with people. The kind of spray and pray approach is not really going to work with affiliates because you'll get a lot of low quality ones. So sort of along the same line as partners, integrating with other companies. Like Groove said that when they integrated with HipChat, that was a big way for them to get new customers, because people then on HipChat could see Groove, and they got a lot of customers from that. Partnering up with other companies in the WordPress industry, or any companies that make sense, is a good one. Let's see. So I want to make sure that there's time for questions, so I'm probably just going to go real quickly through ads. Ads. So ads they're the easiest one to start, but they're the hardest to receive returns from if you do them wrong. So it's easy to, 5 minutes. Okay, I just got notified it's 5 minutes. So let me look at questions real quick. So what I would say is don't buy ads unless you know they're going to work, unless you have a system already of onboarding customers and you sort of know how many people are coming on board and how many people are going to buy ads from you or are going to actually get into your fold. So let's see, I'm going to look at some questions now. I see a question from Jan. Setting prices for services is always tough. I'm learning how you determine what to charge. That's a great question. And what I would say is you have to kind of look at the industry price of what you're doing. When we were setting prices for Reactor, we kind of looked at the industry, what other app builders were charging, what we thought our product would be worth. We integrated push notifications, and push notifications cost $50 a month by themselves. So we said, hey, if we charge $50 a month for push notifications in an app builder, then hey, that's a great deal. But basically, just look at what other people are doing, and you kind of a bit of it is a guess, really. You can ask people if you want before you launch how much that they would pay, but really that's until people actually get out their credit cards and start paying. You're not really going to know how to do it, how to price your product. So Roy asks, what's been the best ROI funnel for client acquisition? How do you determine how much to invest? And so I was talking a little bit about marketing channels, and I really think that the best ROI is going to be with content marketing. So that's really what I'm putting sort of all my not money, but all my time into. And how much to invest? I would say, I would invest as much time as you can into marketing. Make sure that you're not just coding all day, because I would do some marketing stuff every day. So you had a really explosive launch. What's worked naturally and what have you struggled with? I think I answered that one, AJ. I hope if that wasn't clear, feel free to email me or anything. So would you like to help me with sales of my product? Hey, hit me up on Twitter. Never know what could happen. So the final thing that I would say just is, calm seas don't make good sailors, as the saying goes, right? So one of the interesting things that I've learned about launching Reactor is that the new software as a service model has been really challenging. It's been less than a month, so I don't really know that much about it, but it feels more challenging to me than just product sales. And I'm learning a ton. And so this has really caused me to step up my game. Like when we launched AppPresser, I had to really step up my development game because we really needed help in developing the product. So I had to kind of learn a bunch of development and really become a good developer. And now that we're doing this, I kind of have to step up my marketing game. And so I would say one of the last things I would say is so you learn more from difficulty, I think, than you do from success. And I'm definitely learning more about products than I ever have before, just because there's been some difficulties. And I tend to think that sometimes successful people can get locked into this sort of narrative fallacy where they kind of make up a story about their success that makes sense, but it's mostly untrue. Not for everybody, but what I've learned is just like having to really hustle is really making me learn a lot. So anyways, I'm learning a lot, and it's been really fun. And I don't think I think we have a lot of changes to make too, but I love J. Armada, definitely. But I'm really excited about this new product. I really believe in Reactor and AppPresser, and really excited about just kind of getting it out there into more people's hands and refining it and everything like that. So let's see if you guys have any other questions, let me know, but I think I'm pretty much out of time. So the chalkboard that sounds like the samurai sword, yeah, this was my wife's, and I actually had to erase her. She had this really nice Christmas message, Merry Christmas, on here, and I had to erase it all for this presentation. So hopefully she's not too mad at me, but yeah, so that's about it for me, guys. I guess if there's not any other questions, Scotty B, what do you want me to do? click stop. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in.